Hey, this is Dr. Rosekelly from Fruitful Oaks Direct Primary Care. We're just a small clinic in a small town here in Duncan, Oklahoma, but we have a vision. We have big vision. That is to change the world of healthcare and to rebuild it from the ground up. We've got a problem in this country when it comes to the way that we view finances, the way we view money, the way we view healthcare. It's not primarily a healthcare problem. It's a problem in many different facets. I remember when my sisters were going to college, they left school with very minimal student loans of maybe $5,000. They worked hard to keep that debt down, and it was very manageable. By the time that I went to school, the prices of college had skyrocketed. And one of the big problems that we see is that we have disassociated cost to value. In order to make school available and cost effective for everyone, they've essentially made it cost effective for no one by disassociating the cost from the actual product. If you had to save up money to pay for school, you would recognize that the value of X school at $40,000 was minimally beneficial compared to the school that cost $10,000 a year or $5,000 a year. And so this has allowed schools to skyrocket prices, to take on their own debt, and to disassociate their own money from the equation. And the reality is, what ends up happening is you end up paying much more down the road. You end up paying significantly more, astronomically more, to the point where no one can really afford it. When the average medical student finishes school with somewhere around $300,000 in student loans, it essentially makes it very difficult for them to even consider primary care or lower paying specialties because the cost that they have to recoup is so much. The same thing is happening in medical care with insurance. You are disassociating the cost from the procedure that you have. You walk in and you get an MRI, and you do that because, well, you need it, and you do that at incredible expense. And so what happens is that you get a bill a month or 2 months later that says that you owe $800 or $1,500 for an image, and you just assume that that's what it costs. And well, thank goodness you had insurance, because that insurance says that the image cost $2,500, and so they saved you almost 50%. And so aren't we so glad that we had insurance? But the reality is we've just kicked the can down the road. We've paid $1,500 a month insurance policies, and we've paid for a $2,500 MRI or a $1,500 MRI. And the reality is it didn't cost anywhere close to that, and you've all been scammed. Today is Money Monday. Today, we want to give you just a little bit of advice. And this advice is not just for direct primary care clinics and people who go to direct primary care clinics or people who don't have insurance. Even if you have insurance, even if you have a employer-sponsored insurance policy where you're only paying a couple $100 a month for your policy, even you can benefit from the advice that we can talk through today and in most of these sessions. In these segments, what we hope to do is to alert you to maybe a website or a resource that's out there that can provide you with better price transparency and to help you have informed decisions about what you are spending your money on, and to reassociate cost to value. And that's an important aspect in order to right the ship that is headed towards an iceberg. Today, I want to alert you to a website that I use probably 2 or 3 times a week at minimum, even in our small clinic. And that's a website called radiologyassist.com. not receiving any money to support them. I support them because I find that they provide value in price transparency, the goal of this podcast. So today I needed to order a MRI. Now this patient has insurance, and so I went through the different options that the patient had in order to find the best price. And sometimes, even if you have insurance and you plan on using insurance, it's still good to look at the cash based prices so that you don't find yourself in a situation where you've been lied to and told that the MRI costs $2,500. And so you feel lucky to pay $1,000 when the reality is the MRI costs a lot less. I don't know what the price is of our local uh, imaging center here in our town because they have refused to give us clear price transparency, even though it's the law. And so they did give me, after weeks and weeks and weeks of badgering them, a spreadsheet of the different prices. And of course, those prices were subject to change, which I understood. But what we found when we sent somebody there for the first time was the price was about twice as much as what they had put on the spreadsheet. That's pretty significant change over the course of a month or so. And so I have no idea what an MRI in my hometown costs, but it wouldn't be out of the ordinary to say that it costs $1,200 for an MRI of the thoracic spine, which is what I was ordering today. So I go on to radiologyassist.com and I look at the image that I want. I say, I want an MRI of the thoracic spine without contrast, very typical in this situation. I put our zip code, and then it gives me a list of the imaging centers that have agreed to work with Radiology Assist at finding cash-based prices. So if I want to stay relatively, well, let's just say I live down near Durant, which I'm not even sure where that is. I think it's down near Texas, down near Dallas. But an MRI of the thoracic spine costs $1,040. That's cash pay. You pay before you go, and that's the price you pay. That includes the radiology read. It includes everything. Now, if I want to go to a town just north of us, about 37 miles north of us, that image, same image, read by a radiologist, without contrast, done on a similar MRI machine, $488. Well, that's pretty significant. But if I go a little bit further away, not really much. 56 miles from where I live, we can get an MRI of the thoracic spine without contrast for $257.61. Now, one might argue that one MRI machine is more accurate than another one. Is it 800 or 400% better? I don't think so. And so when you go to a new location and you're using your insurance, if you have a high deductible plan, which quite honestly, most insurance policies these days are high deductible. $5,000 is very common deductible plan, especially for small businesses who can't afford the big time insurance policies. You're going to have a $5,000 deductible, and they're going to tell you that MRI cost $1,800, and since you haven't met your deductible, all of that is due to you, and so you just spent $1,600 for the privilege of using your insurance when you could have driven a little bit further away, less than an hour, and paid $257. Now, I know people who will go that far to save $50. I've gone on resale shops and found a better price of $100 discount in Norman or in Oklahoma City and said that was worth it, that's certainly worth it. Now, if the bone is sticking out, then probably you want to go to the closest MRI stat. But in the vast majority of cases, I would say upwards of 98% of MRIs are done non acutely, meaning it's not an emergency. You're going to be scheduled out sometimes 2, 4, 6 weeks sometimes with MRI. And so you have time to make a decision. And so I would take your insurance card, I would go to the local imaging center because that's the most convenient, and force them to tell you how much it's going to cost to pre-submit the claim, to give you an estimate. Because I'm going to bet that in the vast majority of cases, you're going to pay more for that MRI at your local center than you are going on to radiologyassist.com and finding a price there. So I hope that was helpful for you today. We'll put a link to radiologyassist.com. And just so you know, there's also a tandem website called colonoscopyassist.com, and they help you find colonoscopies at cash-based prices. And the last I looked, you could get a colonoscopy for $1,500. That sounds like a lot of money, except that if I go on to the local, to the Obamacare website and get a policy through them, that policy is going to cost me $1,500 a month. And so for the price of the premium of one day or one month, I'm going to be able to get a colonoscopy. And sure, it's not added to my policy, but anytime they add something like that to your policy, they are ripping you off 100% of the time. For routine screening, they by definition have to charge you more than what they are paying. And in most cases, they're going to spend a lot more than what you're paying. So I hope that was helpful for you today. Keep tuning in as we try to explore the world of cash-based resources to topple the giant of administrative management in these hospitals and in these clinics and these insurance companies, and rewrite the history of medical care, both here in our local town and in the world. Well, we are just one small voice speaking from just one small town, but we are here to make a life-size impact. Have a great day.